Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and in today's video we are going to go over all the books I read for 2025. I am super excited because honestly this is the first year that I've ever actually tracked books that I read, and I use Storygraph. That's what I've been putting all my books in that I finished this year, and it tells you exactly what month. So it's really also cool to see how, because in some points of the year I was in a reading funk. Didn't feel like reading, and then sometimes I was really into reading and I would finish a book in a couple days. So it's cool to see in Storygraph it shows you a breakdown of the books and the month you read them, and it also tells me how long it took me to finish a book, and then the type of books I read, the length of the books, and how many pages I read this year. So let's get into it. We're gonna go month by month, and then we're going to get into some of my end of the year analytics, because I don't think my goal was, honestly, I wanted to get to 30, because 30 just is seems like a really good number to end at, very even. But I don't see myself getting to 30 books just because I am not in a big reading mood right now, and it's already December 28th. So we're just going to call it, and we're just going to say these are the books I read in 2025. So we're starting off strong. January, I read This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. In February, I read Sugar by Bernice McFadden, The Crash by Frida McFadden, and Real by Kennedy Ryan. In March, I read Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett and When I Think of You by Maya Ariel. Ariel. In April, I read Rhythms Blues by Kimberly Brown, The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. In May, I read Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan, The Perfect Marriage by Genevieve Rose, Never Lie by Frida McFadden. June, I read Moth to a Flame by Ashley Antoinette, The Tenant by Frida McFadden, Unexpected Pass by A. Blossom. July, I read Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. In August, I read A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. September, I read The Best Man Unfinished Business by Malcolm D. Lee. And then I read Made, Hard Work, Low Pay, and A Mother's Will to Survive by Stephanie Land. October, I read Curvy Girl Summer by Danielle Allen, No Ordinary Love by Maya Ariel, The Intruder by Frida McFadden. In November, I read The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest, Don't Go Downstairs by Jack Dane, The Last Man on Earth, A Survivor Romance by Shay Sanders. And then in December, I read The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest, Don't Go Downstairs by Jack. No, wait, hold on. That was November. In December, I read His First Wife by Jack Dane and The Love Lyric by Christina Forrest. So, as you can see, I read a lot of series. I finished a whole series for Christina Forrest, the Green Sisters, which I did not know that there were two other books, because I had only read The Neighbor Favor. So when I found that out, quickly went over to Libby and I started checking books out. So read and finished that series. And then I started getting into Jack Dane books, which they're pretty alright. They give me Frida McFadden vibes. So if I can go over how I rated the books, we can go through that as well. Which was kind of hard because I didn't start putting my rates into the book until later in the year. But I just made an Instagram post of my 2025 reading wrap up, so we're just gonna use that as my guideline. I rated This Could Be Us 4.5 stars. The Crash by Frida McFadden 3 stars. Sugar by Bernice McFadden, I gave that 4.5 stars. Real 4.5 stars. When I Think of You, 4 stars. The Vanishing Half, 4.5 stars. The Boyfriend, 3 stars. Rhythms Blues, 3.5 stars. Can't Get Enough, 4.5 stars. The Perfect Marriage, 4 stars. Never Lie, 4 stars. Moth to a Flame, 4.5. The Tenant, 3 stars. Unexpected Pass, 3.5 stars. Allegedly, 4.5 stars. A Love Song for Ricky Wilde, 4 stars. The Best Man Unfinished Business, 4 stars. The Maid, or Maid book, which was Made, Hard Work, Low Pay, A Mother's Will to Survive, 4 stars. Kirby Girl Summer, 4 stars. No Ordinary Love, 4 stars. The Intruder, 3 stars. Don't Go Downstairs, 4 stars. The Partner Plot, 4 stars. The Last Man on Earth, 4 stars. His First Wife, 3.5. And The Love Lyric, 4 stars. So everything was between 3 and 4 stars. I feel like it takes a lot for a book to be 5 stars. Like it has to be like I have to like have almost zero to no like I wouldn't say complaints, but like no where I'm like, it was good, but this like it takes a lot to get a 5 stars out of me. So I feel like that's pretty good though. Like in most of these books, like I am the reader who will if I see a book and someone was like, oh, this book completely wrecked me, it was so emotional, I'm gonna read it. I very much am gonna read it. And sometimes like I think for me, if I'm going through the books, a love song for Ricky Wilde, when I picked this book up, I didn't know what to expect out of it because sometimes I barely read the back, like the little synopsis about what the book is about. I just start reading. I just find out why I'm reading. I don't know why I'm like that. That's just what I do. So a love song for Ricky Wilde took me for a roller coaster because I did not know it was given like voodoo, like curse type thing. Like, what do you mean the main character was cursed to be on earth for eternity and then he's gonna find his love, but as soon as he finds his love he's gonna die. And then the woman who Ricky befriended, the old lady who Ricky befriended, was the daughter of the woman who cursed the main character. Like, you see how I just brought that up so fast? Like, I love when books just automatically bring me back and I can think about how I felt and what emotions I was going through when I read it for the first time. And I felt like that was a really cute story. And the ending was sad but beautiful because they got to be together. Um, so, and I really relate to characters that are the eyeball, the black sheep of the family that no one really understands. And that's who Ricky Wilde was. And so her falling in love with a man who kind of understood her and her like love for flowers and all that stuff. It really was a good book. That's why I gave it 4 stars. As you can see, I read a lot of Freida McFadden. My favorite series from Freida McFadden, it was the Housemaid series. Everything else is kind of like a hit or miss for me sometimes. That's why sometimes her books get like a 3.5 stars for me, because you already know going in, she is going to have a plot twist. You think you may know where the book is going, but the book is not going exactly where it's going. There's going to be another plot twist, another plot twist. And for me, it just always feels like have her characters like be holding each other's secrets. Like they'll do some crazy things, but they won't snitch on each other because like they're just holding each other's secrets. Like they did something when the character's like, okay, I'm not gonna, you saved me, so I'm not gonna, justify why you should be locked up. um, what else did I read? Can't Get Enough. Obviously, you have the Skyland series by Kennedy Ryan. That was such a good book. I feel like when it came to the main character, Hendrix, I see myself in her so much because you can have a successful business, really great friends, great family. She's also dealing with her mom and her Alzheimer's situation. So it's like you're trying to be super successful, but family is calling you to be at home and you're also trying to grow and all those things. And then not really having a good love life situation. And you see your other friends happily in love, married, kids, and all those things. I don't even think Hendrix wanted kids, which is totally fine. Um, but to see that like she just wanted love and she found her soulmate basically, and Maverick was, as all the Skyland men are, just perfect. Just perfect. So that was really good. I really love that. I would love to get like a book of just an update of all the friends. And I feel like she did a really good job kind of checking in on Soledad and Yasmin. Like I feel like she did a really good job. Unlike not the bash, but I did enjoy. So like I said, I read The Neighbor Favor, I read The Partner Plot, and I read, what was it called? The Love Lyric. And I enjoyed each book, but when you read them back to back, it's almost like a little bit of repetitiveness in it. And I hope this makes sense because especially when I read The Love Lyric and it was giving such older sister core, like it was her book. And I feel like I would have liked to have known more about who the older sister was. Like there was a lot of like, even when the book started out, I think it started at the middle sister's like her not wedding party, where it was like her fiance at the time had cheated on her with one of her artists that she was working with, because she was like a fashion, not fashion designer. I always get that mixed up. She was a stylist. And that's how the book started. And then it was a lot of like, oh, this sister and her story, and like talking about the youngest sister and how she fell in love with her man, and then talking about the middle sister and how she fell in love with her man. So it was like I wish there was just a, it was really focused on the older sister and her story. I feel like it was just intermingling with everybody so much to where I was like, I know these details because I've read these books almost back to back to back. But I did enjoy, the love story was obviously beautiful, and I also feel like it needed more. Like by the time we get to the end and they find love, I'm just like I want to know more. But that's honestly, I feel like it was, I feel like it was really good because or no, when it came to the ending, I feel like I wanted more. Like by the time we got to the end and them falling in love with each other and deciding to be together, it's like with the partner plot, I would have loved to see how their relationship continued to blossom because they had those points. But I guess you kind of got it answered in the love lyric, because it was like, oh, they ended up moving closer in the middle where he could still travel and go to the high school and she could still travel and go to work. And then in the love lyric, she completely transitioned her career path, and now she is the owner like of the family business or whatever. And so she also fell in love with this big time artist, and the dynamic in our relationship of him being so much into stardom and all those things and helping out, like I just would have loved to see a little bit more of like how the relationship kind of blossomed together. His first wife, I did like the book. I only liked it because, okay, I feel like I only liked it because he was a no good man. Okay, he was a no good man. He fell in love with these women, but he would get bored easily and he would just start cheating on them. So like with his first wife, he was cheating on her, and when she found out that he was cheating on her, he crashed out, and he had this thing where he was like, if I can't control the situation, I lash out, I act out. And he was acting like a toddler, thrashing around and banging his head against the floor, and she was terrified of him. So she was trying to get away from him. And there was a woman who had fell in love with him that when she first seen him, and so she started to stalk them in their relationship and learned that they wasn't having a good relationship. And so she got rid of the first wife, and then he ended up falling in love with her and marrying her, but he got bored of her. So he decided, you know what? He started cheating on his second wife with his secretary, who was a crazy woman, and he also was cheating on the secretary with other women as well. And once the wife had found out, the second wife, she was like, "Oh my gosh, wait, what?" And then come to find out that the secretary was the second wife's best friend, and that's why he could never meet this quote unquote best friend that she had, because it was the woman he was having an affair with. And that woman was crazy because she started offing people in the book, and she was going to blame it on the second wife, and she almost got away with it, but the second wife is just as crazy as she was, and she lived next door, and like she had stuff written on the wall about how they were going to be in love and married and how much she loved this man. And she ended up going to the apartment and getting rid of the secretary, and now this no good man is scared because he had two crazy women that were in love with him, and he was stuck with the second wife who did absolutely love him, but he was terrified of her. And she's all like, "Oh, baby, how you want your eggs?" And he's like, "Oh, scrambled, I guess." And he can't get away from her. And she was like, "If he ever try to leave me, I'll just get rid of him." That's the only thing where I'm like, it's a little justified, because you were no good, and now guess what? You're stuck with a crazy woman who loves you unconditionally and would never let you go. How does that feel? Ain't that crazy? That is why I gave that book 3.5, almost 4. But it wasn't too crazy. Like that was the only reason why I enjoyed it. Cause I'm like, you know what? Hell yeah, that's what you get. Last Man on Earth. I've never read a survival romance book before. This took me through some emotions. Okay. First of all, how everything came about in the book was crazy. how they were the only two people, and it's funny how she was like, I wouldn't even be with you, or he said something about, somebody said something about being the last man on earth, and the fact that they end up crashing and then being on this island, and then only the pilot, the main two characters survived. Not the pilot, she was the flight attendant. Only the flight attendant and him being the last to survive, and then they fell in love with each other, but it was like a lustful type thing, and then she ended up getting pregnant, and then like she thought she was gonna have a baby on this island, and they lived on this island for so long, for so many months, and then when they finally got rescued, it was like a thing of like we were in our own little bubble of like happiness, and it was just us, and then like now it's the real world, and he had a whole fiance, mind you, and he comes back. Not only are y'all in love, but they rescue you, and this girl is pregnant. So I was like, I see what y'all was doing on this island while y'all was trying to survive. And now he's conflicted because he's like, he clearly didn't really he really didn't care about his fiance. He only gave her the ring like a shut up ring, like, girl, okay, whatever, I'm gonna be with you. But he really didn't want to be with her. So now he's dealing with his ex fiance being like, like, what you mean? Like, ain't no way my dude is gonna get into a car crash. Uh, I think that he's gone, and he come back, and he got the girl he was stuck on the island with pregnant. What was y'all doing? Good, we know. So that was a really good book. They went through a lot of like trials and tribulations, but I feel like in the end, them like being this family was really cute, and he obviously like had the money, and also seeing his growth as a man, because he was very much like he had to grow up a lot, and she started to fall in love with that. Like it was like he like so they almost got attacked by a wild pig, and he killed the pig, and she was like, oh my gosh, and she put that thing on him, and then it was wraps after that. As soon as he showed a little ounce of like survival skills, she was like, oh my gosh, she put that thing on him. And yeah, I thought that was insane. So that was a really good book. It was also my first book I read by that author, and I feel like she did a really good job. So that was good. Don't Go Downstairs. That was, as you can see, my top genres are thrillers and romance. If I'm not reading a romance, I'm reading a thriller. If I'm not reading a thriller, I'm reading a romance with a little bit of nonfiction in between. But oh, excuse me, mainly thrillers and romance. So Don't Go Downstairs was an interesting book as well. It's giving me like Lifetime vibes, like, okay, this couple, they're having marital problems, right? And they kind of like they lost that spark with each other, older couple, just them. She's like, he's not doing the things he used to do. He's very routine, very on like getting to bed, good night, turn around, go to sleep. Like there's no spark, no nothing. So she decided to go on this like house swap website where you basically just swap houses with people. Basically, I mean, it's in the name. And she ended up. Now I would say it did get me when sometimes like when you're reading like a thriller and it's late, and like you're reading it and you're like so into the book that it be like you have to stop for a second and be like looking around like, oh my gosh, that's how I felt. Because when she was checking in, and the man was like, oh yeah, this house is amazing, it's great. And then her neighbor called and was like, are y'all okay? She was like, what you mean, are we okay? And she was like, y'all garage door is open. And she was like, wait, what? And then she was like, okay, I'll tell the person that stayed in our house. And she was like, girl, ain't nobody been at your house this whole time. I kid you not, that did give me chills. It's giving me chills just thinking about it. Because this whole time she's messaging this man, and the only rule they had that was like, don't go downstairs. And the couple was like, what you mean don't go downstairs? And it was like this beautiful house. They were so in love with it, but they kept hearing like all these cricks and slams and stuff in the night. And they were like, what's going on? But there was nothing downstairs when they actually went downstairs. So now that I'm thinking about it, that book was actually, it was low key. I gave it 4 stars. I would say it's like a 4.5, because that book was actually pretty good. Thinking about it over, because it's like when she was like, what you mean nobody been in our house? And I was like, oh, oh, what you mean? So that was the whole plot of the thing. It was that the husband was cheating on his wife, and she wanted to get her get back. So she ended up getting rid of the husband, and she was going to pin all of like the murder and everything on this couple. and that was her whole plot. But the couple that she chose was very like green. Like she was like, it took y'all too long. Like I had to speed this process up. So it was like all these things that were like very confusing. Like he had an affair with the housekeeper, I believe she was, and like yeah, that was very interesting. Like, yeah, so and then it was like the ending, and luckily the lady, the wife of the couple that was having marital problems, she had ran into a old, not classmate, a old student of hers. And so when she tried to call her student was like, that's suspicious. So he came to the residence and was like, what's going on? And that's when he found out everything. And then the lady tried to run away, and she tried to turn around and say that the couple was hurting her, and it was like, no, not Mrs. K. That's not the lady's name, but not Mrs. K. So that's the only reason why they didn't, that the lady didn't get away with it. Like insane. So it definitely sparked a little something in their marriage, because they were like, wow, wait, we almost died. I love you. I love you. Oh my God. So hey, they sparked their marriage back together. I actually don't remember No Ordinary Love, but I gave it 4 stars. Yikes. The Intruder was interesting. The Intruder, and actually I just had somebody comment, because I made a video and someone was like, it was actually very sad. And I think it is very sad. And I feel like it was so many unanswered questions in The Intruder, because here you go following along. This woman is in this cabin, and it rains, and a suspicious girl shows up on her property, and then she's thinking that the girl is trying to get rid of her for some odd reason, even though she don't know who this girl is. And it turns out that the girl was actually following a map, and she was in an abusive home, and the map had led her to this house, but actually she was looking for the next door neighbor's house. And it turns out the next door neighbor she thought was her dad, but it wasn't her dad, it was her uncle. And the dad was gone. And the woman who was originally in the cabin, she also was in an abusive home as well. It was a lot of abuse. And she was also in an abusive home. And so it had turned out that the man actually was the brother of the boy who she was in love with, and the girl who showed up at her house was the daughter of the boy she was in love with. And the brother uncle slash yeah the brother and uncle, he said that the brother had was killed, but the brother was not killed. The brother actually was in jail for getting rid of their abusive father. But the brother, because I guess I think he had like life in prison, he didn't want them to know that he was alive. So the brother uncle was actually in love with the girl in the cabin, and the girl in the cabin was also equally in love with her. I mean, in love with him. And the brother uncle went to his brother and was like, he didn't want to ask, because he was already giving him updates about his daughter, and like, oh, somebody walking upstairs. I told you, I started talking about that Thriller. I started talking about that Thriller book, and it fucked me up. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. That genuinely just scared me. Also, the wind is picking up outside, so that really just scared me. Frick. That is why I be taking breaks on thrillers. Like I have to be messing my brain up. Um oh my gosh, it just completely threw me off. So the brother uncle goes to the prison, and he's like showing what his daughter looks like and all those things. And it literally ended with the girl being like, you want to see my dad? And she was like, yeah, I want to see your dad. And then she looked and said, oh, wait, that's that's Tom. I don't think that's that man's name, but that's Tom. And then he was like, the brother uncle wanted to ask his brother, like, I know you was in love with the girl in the cabin, but I'm kind of in love with her. But he didn't want to overstep. And so it's this case of like, he's in love with the girl, she's in love with him, but he doesn't want to overstep the boundaries of asking his brother, like, oh, can I be with the girl that she was in love with when we was kids, basically. So very sad. I feel like there were so many unanswered questions about that book. Kirby Girl Summer. That was good. Kirby Girl Summer was good. The only thing is, like, the main character was annoying me, because she was like, oh my gosh, like, there's no way, like, he doesn't love me, or like, why would he do that? And I'm just like, girl, he clearly likes you. Yeah. The Best Man Unfinished Business. I had to watch the Best Man movie and the Best Man Holiday for me to really get into this book. Um, and once I did that, I really started to get into the book. Now, I would say the ending made me mad because it ended off on a cliffhanger. It ended off with, oh my gosh, who is she pregnant by? And also, him trying to like figure out if he because once I actually seen the movie The Best Man, I was like, okay, so now this makes sense. This is why I have notifications off. That just distracted me. Once I read The Best Man, it honestly made sense in the sense of like, okay, he's in love with his best friend he's been in love with forever. To the point where like his marriage with his first wife didn't work out. So in the end, she was like, "You have to tend to the garden. You have to take care of the garden and feed the garden and be with the garden." And he was like, "Oh my gosh, wait, okay." So he goes back to where she is and proposes to her. You don't know if she said yes or no. Then his wife is out here figuring out that she's pregnant, and it's like, is it her new boyfriend? Or is it her husband that she had a one night stand with? It was a lot. And it was really a thick book. It was a lot and it was a thick book. Made. I would say, okay, y'all know like when we were going through that whole situation of like everyone being really judgmental about food stamps, and there was like the crisis of like people not getting their food stamps around the holiday season, Thanksgiving and all those things. Reading Made, it really gave me not, I wouldn't say a different perspective, because honestly, if you're on food stamps, who gives a damn? And also reading about, I feel like this was a realistic like reading about how the system works, and how if you're struggling and you're trying to get system government assistance, and all the hoops and hurdles that you have to like go through to get government assistance. And then it's like, if you make too much, they take you off. So then you don't always make too much money. You always just make just enough to get you by. And then it's like, just like how terrible the system is. I feel like this book, everybody should read this book, because it really just shows like how the system, I feel like, works, especially like when you're a young mother and you just trying to make it work. And it's like, reading her and how she got through this, and how she like pushed her body beyond what she was physically capable of, and showing up and cleaning houses and going through all this bull crap to show up for her kid. And like her rough relationship she had with her mom and her dad and all those things. Like, that was a really good book. Like, it took me a minute because it would just be like, I gotta take a break from reading this book, but that was really good. um Allegedly, don't even get me started. That book completely wrecked me. Tiffany D. Jackson, she does it every time. Like, that book was a lot. The Tenant was alright. Moth to a Flame took me through it. I seen somebody talk about how it took them through it. I read the book and said, I see what you're talking about. Took me through it. That was a lot. I would say, I'm not gonna hold you. The farther we get up in the year, the harder it is for me to remember exactly what all these books were about. This Could Be Us, obviously, Skyland series. Read that in January. Beautiful book. I loved how Kennedy Ryan does a really good job at character growth, and you're kind of witnessing actual character growth. Like, it's a deep story behind it, but like Soledad find out that her husband ain't shit, and then she used her gifts that she already have for good, and like she started posting on social media, and I think she started like working with companies, and like people wanted to experience the Soledad experience. Like, she put on really good hosting events. What am I trying to say? Like, she did, like, everybody wanted to experience Soledad. So like she would do really good at cooking and decorating and like putting events together, and she really got herself out the mud. Like, from losing everything to being like, I got daughters to take care of, and then somewhere along the way finding love. Like, if only it could ever be that simple. If only it could ever be that simple. And just kind of back and forth. And then also the main male character, even his story was good. You know, him being a single father, dealing with his sons, who I believe was on the spectrum, and then like how they kind of like ran into each other and met. Like, beautiful, beautiful story. Real, really great. I know this was the book that we read for book club. This is what got me into book club, is reading Real. And that was a really good story in a sense of like, I, for somebody who really loves film, and I'm like a film geek sometimes, seeing them and like reading them talking about film and directing and all those things was really good. My only beef with Real is that I wanted her, the main woman character, I wanted her to really get a good foot in before she was with the film director Kanan, because I did not like how, you know, she was a new name in the industry. She was amazingly talented, which is why Kanan chose her. But you know, obviously they had this attraction towards each other, and it was like, we're not going to do anything until we wrap filming. But then they just couldn't resist each other, and it's like, I just wanted her to put her foot into the industry before she got with this hotshot film director. Because when people found out that they were like messing around with each other, people started to judge her, and it was like, you're new to the game, you're new in the industry, you went from Broadway to Hollywood. Like, the shift from being on stage to being in front of the camera, like her figuring out how that works and getting accustomed to actually filming movies. Like, I just wanted her to really focus on her career. Like, I really did not like how she just jumped into this relationship with Kanan. And it was cute, it was beautiful, but it's like, you know, we could have done better. The Vanishing Half was really good. That was also another book we read for book club. And the thing I like about book club is that it challenged me in a way of like expanding my books. Like, a book that I probably wouldn't have picked up, because like I said, I kind of lean towards romance and thriller. So when you see a book like Sugar or The Vanishing Half, that was because of book club. And I enjoyed The Vanishing Half. It was such an interesting read to read about two twins who were white passing, and then one twin going off and actually fully being white passing, and then the other twin like going off and being with a black man, and then somehow their stories crossing again with their daughters. And then you could read about the twin who went off to be white passing and really inserted herself into the white community, and how she navigated that, and like the identity crisis that she probably had, and how her husband had no idea who she was in her past, and how her daughter was asking her all these questions about like her mom and her upbringing and all those things, so she had to lie. And then for the other twin to go back home and put her daughter in this environment of like being um putting her daughter in that environment of like being this dark skinned woman in this town that praises for being light skinned. And so for them to kind of like cross paths again is crazy. And then for the twins to have never, like, to have not talked to each other in so long is crazy. Like, that book was really good. That book was really good. Sugar, that book was really good too. And I remember how I felt when I finished that book. Maybe I'll insert the video, because I remember reading. I mean, I did like a reading blog for that video. I mean, for that book, and I finished it, and I was like, whoa, whoa. When I think of you, I don't think I like that book that much. I don't really remember it. I gave it 4 stars. It was another like film book, and I love that they were talking about filmmaking and all those things in the book. But I'm not really a big fan of Second Chance Love. I'm really not. And I really like books. If it's a romance book, I do like books that go back and forth with the male and female character, because I love to read the yearning. I love to read the desire for each other. And it has to be good though. Like, it's hard when you're just reading one POV. And I feel like Kenny Ryan really messed me up because she does such a good job at it. But it's just like I love reading the back and forth between the characters and equally seeing how much they want each other, especially reading from the male's point of view. And like in real, I like real actually let's go back to real. Real did make me cry. The scene because in real she like deals with she has some type of like disease, I believe. And so she was having a flare up and she was in the bathtub and he it was one of those things where it was like it was such a intimate moment they had with each other and the way he like catered towards her. Oh my god, it was beautiful. It literally made me tear up because it was like in that moment she didn't feel beautiful. She didn't feel her like herself and he the way he comforted her and was there for her and like I even believe he like shaved her legs or like he did something. And that scene really really good, really really good. I like oh my gosh, I love a book that emotionally brings it out of me and like I love a book that does really really good at like showing the love that each character developed for each other. Wow. And that was my 2025 wrap up. I kind of went through, I literally was like, this is my cute post I made on Instagram, by the way. I think y'all should go check it out. Um, of all the books I read. But that's literally, I was just kind of going and flipping through and being like, oh, let me see what I remember about this book and how I felt. The Perfect Marriage was all right. You know, one of those like twisty turny books where it's like, oh, the husband was cheating, like always typical. Husband is cheating, the woman gets revenge. And that's I think that's how that book was because the woman Ben knew her husband was cheating, so she kind of like did her big win, got her revenge back. But yeah, it was really good. What a nice wrap up of the year. I don't necessarily really have a reading goal. I think for me, I just want to see how many books I can read by the end of the year and then we'll go from there. I don't want to set a goal. I just want to see like, you know, so very, very interesting. So let's really quickly go through my analytics for Storygraph and it can kind of show me what my year was looking like. So 26 books, 8,801 pages. My average time to finish is 10 books. I read a lot of emotional books. So, like, it shows you a graph. So, it says emotional, dark, tense, mysterious, hopeful, reflective, lighthearted, inspiring, funny, sad. And so, you can kind of see, like, I'm going to screenshot this and put it on the screen. So, you can see, like, I read a lot of emotional books. I'm an emotional person. Um, I do rely like medium paced books, but and then like my page range is between 300 and like 499 pages. A lot of fiction, a little bit of nonfiction, genres, romance, contemporary, thriller, mystery. Very on brand. Um, So yeah, I would say what a amazing reading year for me. I'm super excited to see what I get into for 2026. I actually have a lot of books on my TBR list. And I'm super excited to get into it. So yeah, you all. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope I did a really good job of breaking down the books that I read. I tried to film this earlier. I got hungry. I was irritated. And then I felt like I was just talking too much. And I got like over it. And I didn't even make it to September because I was doing just a little bit too much talking. So I decided to just quickly go through all the books I love. And then give y'all like my thoughts on each book. Not each book, but like the books that I actually remember. And then next year, what I really want to do is just write like a note or like my thoughts. So then when I do this again, I could actually say, oh, this is how I felt when I read this book. Because going off my memory, ooh, easier for the end of the year, not so easier for the beginning of the year. So yeah, I will see y'all in my next video, whatever that would be, because this channel is just a place for me to talk about whatever I feel like when it comes to movies, books, TV shows, and yeah. And also, I would say, little self promo plug in. I will have everything linked down in the description box for my other channel where I post about entrepreneur things and vlogs, a little bit more personal about my life. You can check that out. My business Warm Pages, which is a bookstore cafe I'm opening up in St. Louis, and I'm super excited for that. It's called, yeah, I just said Warm Pages. So I will leave all that link down below. And also, if you have a juicy story time, a messy story time, or you just want a little 2 cents from a stranger, I have Where Strangers But series on this channel where I read your story anonymously so you can make the names up. Only thing I ask is that you put your age because that is very important. The last 2 times I did this, I really wanted to know how old the people we were reading about because it makes the story a little bit more, being like, okay, you're 25, babes, like, so if you want advice, maybe you just want to get your story off or anything, you can email us. I'll have that downstairs down in the description box as well. So yeah, I really want to get that started into the new year because I just be nosy. This is a judgment-free zone. And sometimes I feel like, you may have a story that your friends are tired of hearing, but you still want to get your rocks off, or you want somebody to give you an unbiased opinion. Let me be that person. Thank you. We're strangers, but it's a new series. I love it. And if y'all want to participate, you can email me your story down below. Thank y'all so much for watching this video, and I will see y'all in my next one.